Bon, bonjour, bienvenue à ce tuto de texte, de lecture. So welcome, thanks for being here, this tuto for reading tuto. And the idea is that I read you a little bit of text, and it's a way of sort of like being able to relax maybe at the end of the week and to learn perhaps a little bit more vocabulary as well. It's just another angle, isn't it, on French? The text I've chosen today is actually an extract from the book that we're doing in the French Room Book Club, which was started last month. So Christine, you're obviously familiar with this. And the book that we're doing is Boule de Suif by Guy de Maupassant. Now, I've always thought that those classics are pretty difficult to access and understand. But actually, as it turns out, they're not. And this is a really enjoyable read, actually. Let's have a start and see whether you agree with me. So this is just an extract where we actually really get to know the main characters. So, tout au fond, aux meilleures places, sommeillaient en face l'un de l'autre, Monsieur et Madame Loiseau, des marchands de vin en gros de la rue Grand Point. So right at the back, you need to just sort of like picture the scene. They're sitting in a big carriage, a horse-drawn carriage, and they're being transported away from an occupied area to a free area because they've negotiated their way out of this. And we're meeting the characters. So right at the back, tout au fond, in the best places, au meilleure place. Notice meilleur is an adjective to describe a noun, place. Sommeiller. Now, this is a play on words, this is, because sommeiller means sleepy. So sleepy in this sense, but we also know that the sound of le sommelier is a wine waiter. And we've actually find out in a minute that these guys are wine merchants. So it's a play on words. En face, l'un de l'autre, facing each other. Monsieur et Madame Loiseau, that's their names. Des marchands de vin en gros. So wine sellers. En gros means wholesale. De la rue Grand Point, that's where they're Grand Pont, which is where they're based. Ancien commis d'un patron ruiné dans les affaires, Loiseau avait acheté le fonds et fait fortune. So Monsieur Loiseau was the former right-hand man of the owner of, I guess, another wine merchants, who was ruined in business, so went into liquidation. And Loiseau bought his supplies, bought what was left, and made a fortune with it. Excuse me. Il vendait à très bon marché de très mauvais vins aux petits débitants des campagnes et par-ci parmi ses connaissances et ses amis pour un fripon madré. Un vrai Normand plein de ruse et de jovialité. So he sold at a very good price. This is a play on words as well. A very good price, very bad wines to small outlets there in the countryside, and was taken by his acquaintances and his friends to be a bit of a scoundrel, a bit of a rogue. A real Norman. So obviously, this is not obviously, but this is based in Normandy. So that's why a real Norman, full of ruses and joviality. So full of cunning plans and, a bit of a sort of like a fun exterior. De taille exiguë, il présentait un ventre en ballon surmonté d'une face rougeâtre entre deux favoris grisonnants. So his size was exaggerated, and he presented, or he had, a tummy like a balloon, which was sort of like, had on top of it a ruddy face, which sort of like was held between two lamb chops. So I guess he had two sideburns there as well. Not particularly attractive character. Sa femme, so Madame Loiseau, grande, forte, résolue, avec la voix haute et la décision rapide, était l'ordre et l'arithmétique de la maison de commerce, qui animait par son activité joyeuse. So his wife was very different, like chalk and cheese, really. His wife is tall, strong, a bit resolute, with a high voice and very decisive. And she was the orderly person, the organized person of the business. which he sort of like brought to life with his actions and his joyful, jolliness, overall jolliness. So they quite suit each other, really, complement each other. À côté d'eux se tenait plus digne, appartenant à une caste supérieure, Monsieur Carré-Lamadin, homme considérable, posé dans les cotons, propriétaire de 3 filatures, officier de la Légion d'honneur et membre du Conseil général. So, next to them, à côté d'eux, so the deux is like we would say if it was me, it would be moi, if it was you, it was toi, and when we say them, it's EUX, it's deux. So next to them, sort of like holding themselves, se tenir, holding themselves in a more dignified manner, who came from a superior caste, so a higher echelon of society, Mr. Carré-Lamadin, a considerable man, posé dans les cotons, that's an expression, someone who's very at ease, socially at ease. But also as a play on words as well, because posé dans les cotons, le coton is sort of like saying threads, really, for his pants, his trousers. Propriétaire de 3 filatures. He's the owner of 3 silk factories, silk farms. But almost you can see the word fil there, and that means thread as well. So this is all sort of like playing together. He's also an officer of the Legion d'honneur and a member, he's a politician as well. So he's got his finger in every pie. Un homme considérable. Il était resté tout le temps de l'Empire, chef de l'opposition bien vieillante, uniquement pour se faire payer plus cher son ralliement à la cause qui combattait avec des armes courtoises, selon sa propre expression. So this is set during the Franco-Prussian War, and so this must be the time of the French Empire. So this would be Napoleonic times. So during this whole time, he stayed as the sort of like the boss of the opposition, but a kindly opposition. But the reason why he did it was so that he would be paid more just to join the cause, which he then joined avec des armes courtoises, with sort of like, he never wanted to do anybody harm, so he never did anything that would, so arme courtoise is sort of like a blunted weapon, if you like, according to his own expression. So he basically played the system to be paid more, but didn't do very much. Madame Carré-Lamadon, so his wife, beaucoup plus jeune que son mari, demeurait la consolation des officiers de bonne famille envoyés à Rouen en garnison. So Madame Carré-Lamadon, a lot younger than her husband, remained, demeurer is to remain, remained the consolation of officers of good family sent to Rouen, to the garrison, the army garrison in Rouen. Read between the lines, at the consolation of officers. So maybe she wasn't the most loyal of wives. Elle faisait vis-à-vis à son époux, toute mignonne, toute jolie, pelotonnée dans ses fourrures, et regardait d'un air navré l'intérieur lamentable de la voiture. So in comparison to her spouse, her husband, son époux, she was very sweet, cute, if you like, very, very pretty, all wrapped up in her furs, like a child might be wrapped up next to a mother, so quite childlike, and was looking around. The voiture would be the carriage, with an air of sort of like, oh, this is awful. So looking down on things. Okay, so that's a couple of our characters. Now we've got Hubert de Bréville. Ses voisins, le comte et la comtesse Hubert de Bréville, portaient un des noms les plus anciens et les plus nobles de Normandie. So the next people on her, their neighbors, the Count and Countess Hubert de Bréville, carried the most ancient and noble names of Normandy. Le comte, vieux gentilhomme de grande tournure, s'efforçait d'accentuer par les artifices de sa toilette sa ressemblance naturelle avec le roi Henri IV, qui, suivant une légende glorieuse pour la famille, avait rendu grosse une dame de Bréville dont le mari, pour se faire pour ce fait, était devenu comte et gouverneur de province. Sorry. Right. So the count. In France now they say le gentleman. It's a thing now as well. So you can say le gentleman, but usually refers to an English person. But as you can see, it's a gentleman. So old gentleman of great standing. Made a big effort to accentuate, how his appearance, sa toilette, his appearance, because of his natural resemblance with the King Henry IV, who, following a glorious legend for the family, or myth for the family, had got one Brazil lady pregnant, and the husband, for this fact, had become the governor of Provence. Provence is everywhere outside of Paris in France, still called that. Provence is just outside anything. So there's Paris and there's Provence, the rest of France. Some people find that uncomfortable. La fortune des Bréville, tout en bien fond, éteignait, disait-on, 500 000 livres de revenus. So the Breville fortune is really well founded, attained, so it was said, 500,000, so 500,000 livres, now that's pounds, as in sterling, pounds of revenue. So the myth is that they're connected to Henry IV by birth, and the truth is that they are very, very rich, but maybe with an exaggerated income. Well-established people. Okay. Ces 6 personnes formaient le fond de la voiture. Le côté de la société rentait, sereine et forte. Des honnêtes gens autorisés qui ont de la religion et des principes. So these 6 people formed the sort of like the people at the back of the carriage. This is a horse and carriage. The side of society that sort of like lives on its own means, serene and strong. Honest people who've got the authority of religion and principles. Par un hasard étrange, toutes les femmes se trouvaient sur le même banc. So by some strange coincidence, all the women found themselves on the same bench. Et la comtesse avait en cour pour voisines 2 bonnes sœurs qui égrenaient de longs chapelets en marmottant des pâtés et des aves. So, and the countess had for her neighbors 2 nuns, bonnes sœurs nuns, who were dressed in, the long habits and were muttering des patas, they were muttering some religious sayings. L'une était vieille avec une face défoncée par la petite vérole, comme si elle eût reçu à bout pourtant une bourdée de mitraille en pleine figure. So one was old with a face that was destroyed by scarlet fever, smallpox, as if she'd been on the receiving end of a firing squad directly in her face. It's not quite a strong image, that. L'autre, très chétive, avait une tête jolie et maladive, sur une poitrine de fistique rongée par cette foi dévorante qui fait les martyrs et les illuminés. And the other was quite sickly with a pretty face. You can see the word malade in there again, so sickly. And then it's sort of like, she was sort of like eaten up with her faith, devouring faith for the martyrs and les illuminés. So for the saints and, the martyrs and so forth. All right, let's just do a little bit more. En face des 2 religieuses, un homme et une femme attiraient les regards de tous. So opposite the 2 religious ladies, a man and a woman attracted the attention or the looks of everybody. L'homme bien connu était Corundé, le démoc, la terreur des gens respectables. So the man was well known. He was Corunde, the Democrat, and he was the terror of all respectable people, because they would have all wanted the establishment to keep going, and he was about republic. Depuis 20 ans, il trempait sa grande barbe russe dans les bords de tous les cafés démocratiques. So for the last 20 years, he'd been dipping his big ginger beard into the glasses of all the democratic cafés around. Il avait mangé avec les frères et amis une assez belle fortune qu'il tenait de son père, ancien confesseur, et il attendait impatiemment la République pour obtenir enfin la place méritée par tant de consommation révolutionnaire. So, he'd eaten with all the brothers and friends, he'd eaten up his quite considerable fortune with all his brothers and friends that he'd got from his dad, who was an old confectioner, a former confectioner. And he was waiting, he couldn't wait for the Republic to finally take his place as one of the constant revolutionaries who had sort of like put so much effort in by drinking in all these cafes. All right, well, I better stop there because my time's up. But this is to just give you, it's a little bit of a different thing. So this is an excerpt from Boule de Suif that we're looking at for the book club. It's actually really accessible, whatever your level, from level 2 upwards. I say it's accessible. So if you want to have a look at it, let me know and I'll send you a copy with a parallel text if you like. It's quite great. So it's only a short story. Lovely. OK, bon, merci beaucoup. Je vous souhaite un très, très bon week-end. Merci d'être là. À bientôt. Au revoir. Au revoir.